There are reports from Israel this evening that retaliation is now, in the words of a government official there, imminent.
So let's start, first of all, with how dramatic was Saturday night. Saturday night was a moment that Israel didn't experience for years, because for the first time since the first Gulf War, Israel was attacked from another sovereign country, not from a terror organization, not from Iran's proxy, but directly from Iran with 300 weapons. I mean, those drones, those missiles, we're talking about ballistic missiles, can kill, if they would have achieved what they wanted.
They were all thankfully shot out of the sky, but this happened after Israel. This happened after Israel had attacked the Iranian consulate in Damascus, which by many states is an act of war itself.
You said two things that I would like to correct because they're not true. First of all, Israel never took responsibility on this. The second thing I think is more important. It wasn't on a consulate. It was a building next to the Iranian consulate. It wasn't part of a diplomatic area, and it was, as you know, a terrorist. It was part of the Revolutionary Guards, the person who was targeted.
I'm sorry to jump back in again, but if you know exactly which building was targeted,
are you really
saying that Israel were not responsible?
Your intelligence knows that. The American intelligence knows that, because we all have a very good intelligence. So with all the respect, this is not the way to share the story. The story, indeed, is the fact Iran's been a massive threat on the Western civilization. Your country knows it. This is why your Royal Air Force was part of it. This is why the Americans were part of this amazing coalition. This is my time to say thank you for this partnership. And I think the fact that Iran failed doesn't mean it doesn't have the intentions. It doesn't mean it didn't prevail its real face to destroy Israel and to destroy more countries. Your country was under a threat. The head of MI5 said it clearly last year. He said, we are under a threat. Individuals on the British soil are under Iranian threat. So
are you
this is a threat to the
Iran?
UK as well. Well, Israel has been holding a shadow war, held by proxies for many years, since the revolution in Iran. So it's over 40 years of ongoing war that Iran declared on Israel. Israel is a peace-loving country, so we don't want to have war with anyone, but we do need to protect our people. So just imagine if this type of massive attack, and it was your foreign secretary saying this morning that this type of aggressive attack, this is something unprecedented.
It is unprecedented. That's why I was asking whether you consider yourselves
if London was under this type of attack, if the UK was, the holy sites in Israel, you could see the Al-Aqsa Mosque with all those ballistic rockets flying over. So those type of things are not type of things that a country can just stand still, do nothing about.
So coming back to my original question, is a retaliation by Israel now, in the words of an Israeli official, imminent?
So just like you, I follow the news coming from Israel. It's the war cabinet that will decide in the coming few hours about any type of response. I want to tell you, we don't work here for any revenge. I think it's not the game. The game here is deterrence. No one wants its country to be attacked with missiles, with drones, the same drones hurting Ukraine, with the same Iranian drones. So we need to make sure our country won't be paralyzed. The country was paralyzed Saturday night. You could see no schools. People were sleeping in bomb shelters. This is not the way of a modern country to function. So if we want Israel to function, we must make sure this type of threat won't exist.
So does that mean, I'm sorry to jump in, but does that mean that the retaliation will involve targeting the sites where these drones and these missiles came from?
I'm not sitting on the maps. I'm not part of the war cabinet, as you know. So I think you should ask me questions of a diplomat.
But you're well informed, I know, and they were meeting this afternoon.
But the thing is, first of all, some things I really don't know, and this is really for the leaders to make the decisions, and also with the military programs. But I do think that as a diplomat, this is a moment, this coalition we've seen was so impressive with America, with the UK, with moderate Arab countries. This type of coalition then against the radical forces in the region, this type of coalition I want to see also operating on a diplomatic level. And when we speak about deterrence, you can deter Iran by, for instance, prescription of the IRGC. The Iranian Revolutionary Guards
That's what you would like to see, I know that.
Operating as a terror organization.
But I'm sorry, Ambassador, to jump in. I'm sorry to jump in, but a coalition functions well when everybody listens to everybody else in the coalition. And you'll have heard the Prime Minister here, you'll have heard the opposition leader, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, and many, many MPs in the House of Commons today pleading with Israel to show restraint. Is Israel listening to that plea?
I think we're listening very carefully to our friends and our allies, and we're definitely not into escalating anything. But one thing Britain knows more than any other country in the world, by not doing anything against aggressor, you also can create escalation. So if Iran knows that Israel is easy to target, maybe you'll be next. Maybe the UK will be next to show this type of performance. We've seen Saturday night of massive attack of drones. You've seen it in Ukraine. Why you think the Iranians, they won't hesitate to do it here as well. So we don't want to see that. So in order to do that, as I said again, we need to make sure
there is another view of what Iran was up to, which is that they set off all these drones and these missiles from inside Iran, not by proxies, which meant they were flying for a very long time and they were relatively easy to bring down. If they'd really wanted to destroy Israel, they might have sent these rockets in from the Lebanon, from Hezbollah, or even possibly from the south as well. They have chosen, in a way, to make a point, to save face, in a way that has not brought both countries really to war. How do you respond to that thought?
I don't think London would have been happy if missiles that are intent to kill would have hurt your military bases. By making sure we have the right technology, and wonderful allies helped us to make sure Israel will be secure on Saturday night, doesn't mean the Iranians won't try again, and this time to hurt Israel. So we don't want to give them the chance to do it again. So I think part of it is to make sure they won't have the motivation to do it again.
When President Biden and indeed David Cameron say to Israel, take the win, you are saying, no, that's not the right response.
We are very happy for the fact the Iranians failed on Saturday night, but we cannot ignore the intentions of the enemy as well. If Iran's intentions, and we've seen that all over the last few years, and we see that in the Red Sea, by taking over British ships, by empowering. Think about Hamas, for instance. Where did they get all this amount of money to build this underground tunnel city that is now being used to hold our hostages? They did that from Iranian money, and part of it, and also weapons. Yeah. So they are basically training and creating those horrific terror attacks that are ready to hurt innocent people.
I'm no defender of Iran at all, but like many people, I can see a situation where Israel responds in a very serious military way, retaliates in a very serious military way, and the Iranians have already said that they will retaliate again. And, bit by bit, we move into a full-scale war which drags the entire region into chaos and could threaten the very future of Israel.
Israel has a zero interest to de-escalate. We want to de-escalate, we don't want to escalate, but we need to make sure that Iran won't feel like it's free to do whatever it wants in the region and keep on spreading terrorism in the region, and no one will respond. And I think why this coalition was so important and why the partnership with the UK is so important. And I truly believe that a better Middle East will be continuing the coalition work against Iran and not just letting Iran to go away with the horrible attack on Saturday.
Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for coming into the studio and explaining all of that.